Good evening, it's Dave at All Important Reviews. Thanks for checking my channel out. Please hit the subscribe button and please smash that like button. Today, I've got with me a Phylida homage watch. This is the first of its kind on my channel in terms of a full review. Let's get the basics out of the way. So this is a homage watch to the Omega Gmt Seamaster 300. This is actually, Omega I believe have discontinued that model a few years ago. They don't make a version that is very similar to this now, but if you go online and type in Seamaster GMT, you can see that this visually is very similar to that watch because it has a red GMT hand. It's a 41mm watch, ceramic bezel, blue dial with the wave etchings, sapphire crystal, and 3mm thick approximately Omega style bracelet. They've done a really good job, and a very similar clasp. Now the bracelet uses screws and pins to keep it in position. So there's two screws on either end, or two screws total, with one solid pin in between each kind of link set, if you will. I'll talk about the bracelet more in a bit. So let's talk about the sizing. The sizing and the sizing is just below. If you measure the bezel, it's just below 41mm. I think it's 40.8. The thickness, because it is a slightly domed sapphire, in the middle there I was getting about 14.4mm. But the thickness on this model, even though it's quite a thick watch, it melts away because of this bracelet. This bracelet, it feels, in terms of the way it makes the watch disappear, it feels like the Rolex Jubilee bracelet. That's the closest I would say it feels like when you put it on the wrist. The sizing is excellent. This actually feels like a far smaller watch than 41mm. It doesn't feel anywhere near as big as, say, this model, which is only a nominal 40mm. And that's because the case on these Submariner homages is bigger. And because it's bigger and flatter, it has a bigger presence on the wrist than this one. This feels a lot smaller on the wrist, surprisingly. So for sizing purposes, it feels really good. It fits really nice on the wrist. The dial is obviously blue. It has a wave. I don't know if you can see that fully, but it does have the wave style, very similar to an Omega, what it's homaged from. It's quite nice. I like the kind of sub markings on the dial, where you've got the 22, the 2, and it just says GMT automatic. I'll talk about the branding later, but I don't personally like the Phylida brand in terms of the way it's called Phylida. And I don't like the fact they don't have a logo like a crown or something. They don't have that, which cheapens the watch somewhat. See, there's no markings on the case back or the clasp, and they should have. It feels very generic, if you will. But anyway, so this, for sizing purposes though, it feels really good. 41mm is the old sizing of what Omega used to put on their Seamaster 300 range, but they changed that a few years ago to 42mm on the latest models. But like I said, this particular watch it's homaged from is actually discontinued, which is a shame because it's an outstanding watch. As far as I'm aware, I think they do one now, but it's 44mm or something like that. But 44mm is too big for me. I wouldn't really buy that, I don't think. So you also have this, I think it's a fake Helium escape valve. I don't think it's actually doing anything there. But the watch does have, again, 200 meter water resist, but it also states 100 meter. So it's probably somewhere between 100 and 200 meter water resist. Is what the actual watch can do. So I would say you can go light diving, swimming easily, etc., and have no problem. The glass is sapphire. That means it's going to be extremely scratch resistant, and it is actually domed. And it does have AR coating, I am told. Although I can't see where that is, because to me it looks pretty reflective and glossy. So I don't know where they've put that AR coating on, if it does have it. It might have a little bit on the underside. As far as I'm aware, the real Omega Seamasters, they have it on both, or they have it at least on the front. And I don't like that because it can come off too easily. So the bezel action is very good. Feels very teethy, very crisp. So it feels like a completely solid, well-built watch. Obviously, you've got the 316 stainless steel throughout, with a screw-down crown, and obviously it's got GMT functionality, so you can have 2 to 3 time zones, I believe. I think actually on this model, because it's not got the GMT, I could be wrong, but I don't think you can have 3 time zones on this. I think it's only 2, but I could be wrong about that. So that'll be useful if you're going abroad or going on holiday with business or whatever. You can have another time zone easily with the other hand, the red hand. And I think the red does contrast nicely with the blue. Having said that, the blue is a really, really strange blue, in that it's not completely blue, and yet it's not green or teal. It's kind of in between a tealy blue, which may be off-putting to some people. I know that the Seamaster, the real Seamaster by Omega, has an absolutely stunning blue that really has to be seen in person to believe how beautiful it is. It's like Rolex's Smurf blue. It is absolutely gorgeous. Well, it's a different colour to that, but it's still just as gorgeous. But this is not as nice as that. It's got a little bit more green in it that some people might not like, but you can get the model in black, which is what I probably should have got it in. I've checked online actually now, and the watch, you can't actually buy it off Phylida in the link. However, I'm going to post some other links to ones that are just the same, but they don't have the GMT functionality if you wanted to pick them up. So the case back is pretty bland. There's nothing on it, basically, which is quite poor, really. It would have been nice to have an exhibition window, or to have some markings about the water resistance or whatever, but there's nothing, and there's nothing on the crown either. So for branding, they are quite poor for Phylida, and they need to improve it. They need to get a logo, and they need to put it on the clasp and the case back and wherever, and on the dial. But they've not done that for whatever reason, so that's points down. Now then, let's get the movement. Is an automatic movement. So it's obviously self-winding. You don't have to manually wind it or anything like that. I've just realised as well why the watch feels very small on the wrist. It's because probably the lug-to-lug measurement is very small. I think it's about 46.5 to 47 mil. So that's why when you're coming from 54, 50, 52 mil lug-to-lug watches, that's why it will feel very small on the wrist, and it does feel small, which is a good thing because it's quite thick, but it doesn't feel, this bracelet makes it melt away. Now let's talk about the bracelet now. The bracelet has this gorgeous kind of, I would call it a 5-link, but I don't think they actually do call it a 5-link. Oh no, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I would call it like a 5-link bracelet, but I don't think they actually do call it that. But basically, the bracelet is superb. The way it fits on the wrist, it makes the watch melt away. Now, the watch does not taper. The bracelet, sorry, does not taper, which is a downside. So it can get a little bit sweaty underneath, a little bit, but it's not significant, and it's still extremely comfortable. Now, the clasp, again, the clasp is homaged from the old style Omega clasp, which did not have any micro adjusts. So it does have a diver's extension, but it does not have any micro adjusts. So you're stuck with these like quarter or third links, but you do get 2 per watch, or more. Actually, you might even get more per watch, actually. I think you get 2 or 3 per watch. But you could always, if you wanted to, you could always buy the bracelet off Phylida for about 20 GDP or 25 quid, and add some extra quarter links in if you wanted to. The screws are absolutely tiny, so be careful when you're taking them out because they are unbelievably small. And there's a pit, but it's pretty easy to resize it. It is pretty easy. You just got to make sure you don't lose them. Because I lost one when I was resizing it. I lost one screw, but it does make the watch kind of melt away on the wrist. It really does feel like the Rolex Jubilee from my experience. That's now it would be better if it's slightly just a few mil tapered. That would be even better. But you know, they've kind of copied the design fairly well, and the real one doesn't taper currently. So you know, that's why they've probably not gone for that. Now you can actually get on the internet, you can buy an upgraded bracelet and clasp that does have thicker links, that has about 4 mil thick or 3.5 mil, which I would say is overkill. It doesn't need to be that thick, but you can get one with a better clasp that has micro adjust slots that you push in here or here, and you can notch it out onto 2mm increments, which I am going to buy, but they're about 80 GBP. They're about 80 to 120 quid, depending on the seller. But I am going to buy one because this is a 20mm lug width, and I'm going to see if it'll fit on this case. And because Pagani Design have also done a homage, not for the GMT though, but they've done a homage to this, to the Seamaster, and I'm going to pick it up for that one as well to see if it fits, because the one problem with using these quarter links or third links, whatever you call it, is that you can't get the perfect setting for your wrist, or I can't, unless you're lucky. So unfortunately, it is just a couple of mil too loose. If I put it in, if I take one of them links off, it just makes it slightly too loose. I want to be in between there as the perfect setting for me, which is just my luck really. But the bracelet over the clasp itself, the swing arms are very thick. Look at that, the heavy duty swing arms. The push button works just fine. So it's a well made clasp, it's well machined. However, I did have to file down the back of them swing arms. I filed all that down. I filed something down here because they were catching the back of my wrist, and I filed down the edge there of that link, I believe, because it was catching the back of my wrist. But now it's been filed down, it's completely fine. It doesn't bother me at all. The side of the links didn't bother me at all either. So overall, I think it is a really good for what I paid for it, because now you have to pay your 20% import VAT because it's collected by AliExpress now instead of being collected in Britain. I paid, I believe, £85 for this watch, and it is worth it. It's definitely worth it for that price. You're getting the water resistance, you're getting a stunning bracelet, you're getting a ceramic bezel, sapphire crystal, and the GMT functionality. But I wish I'd have got it in black. And again, I believe that Phylida have run out of stock currently. So if you wanted to pick it up, I'm gonna post the links for their other, which is exactly the same, but it's not got the GMT functionality. I'm going to post the links there, which will be affiliate links, which means I'll make a tiny profit at no extra cost to you if you did use them. So I'm going to say this is one of my favourite watches now. I'm wearing it every day because it's so comfortable. But one thing that people never tell you is, on these super comfy bracelets like the Rolex Jubilee and this style of bracelet, and because the watch has a kind of small case compared to this kind of a watch, what people never tell you is that the watches are more kind of loose on the wrist. Unless you make it super tight, which I don't like, the watch will niggle around a bit more on the wrist. Some people might like that. I don't. I prefer the watch to stay in place, which is what you get on this style of bracelet with this style of case, which for me sticks it in place better while it still is very comfortable. But this is even more comfortable in the sense that the watch doesn't feel like it's on the wrist. It's just so light because of that bracelet, because it's got further articulation points. So, but all in all, an excellent effort. I want to see it on an upgraded Clasp with a micro adjust, and I want to see it in black personally. And Phylida need to massively improve their branding because their branding is poor. They could do really with changing the name or changing it so that it's got, you don't really see the Phylida, you just see some kind of a crest or logo. That'd be far better, and they need to brand the back of this. But all in all, it's worth £85 easily, in my opinion. Okay, thanks for checking my video out. There's going to be loads more reviews coming up. Nice one. Have a great day. Thanks a lot.